What's up guys, today I want to talk to you about teamfighting as Lucian in this patch, as I find it pretty awkward as the kind of champions you're playing against, things like Braum, Orianna, Ryze, etc. are really horrible to teamfight against as an AD, because all they really want to do is kill you, and not only are they quite tanky a lot of the time, they also do a lot of damage. So to set the scene pretty much, I'm 9-3, I have a pretty fed Kayle, and then their team is doing okay as an average. Their Ryze is a little bit weaker than the rest of the team. But even though Orianna's 2-6-6, she has 270 creeps, which means she has a lot of items, and she's going to hurt if she hits me with an ult, basically. So at this point in the team fight, I notice people find it very hard to know exactly what to do, as it all sort of ends up coming into this big sort of ball of just spells and big mess, basically. Now, I'm going to get my little pen out here, as I've not used this for a long time, and I'm going to try and explain to you what you want to do as Lucian in a fight. So obviously Lucian's attack range is about here, and if anyone comes inside that, I pretty much kill them instantly, as I'm Lucian and has a lot of damage. Now, you'll notice I've positioned myself on purposely here with the Kayle. Now the reason for doing that, as you can see we've got a little bond here. The reason for doing that is because Kayle is the most fed member of my team, and honestly I couldn't really care that Singed, Lee Sin and Zyra are in the Baron pit, because that's exactly where you don't want to be versus a team like this. If I was in the Baron pit here, it'd be very easy to get Braum ulted into a Orianna ult, into a Ryze AoE combo with Caitlyn doing damage at the back, and even a Vi ult might hit my head here, and that's obviously not where I want to be. So positioning anywhere around here is completely the wrong thing to do, and Baron isn't high enough to the point where you could just say, oh, well maybe you could have just hit Baron and killed it. And it's not high enough to do that, and I think a lot of people would take the risk here and try to kill the Baron. It's 4,000 HP, and I just don't think it's a great choice, but I would have made that choice in the past me before I learned what good positioning was. I'd have been stood somewhere like here, I would have got flanked on here and just got smashed to pieces basically, because I have no defensives whatsoever in this game. And I have no real peel apart from a Kayle ultimate, but I want Kayle to ult herself as she's more fed than me and honestly does more damage than me, so I can understand that and appreciate that. So what you really want to be aiming to do as Lucian in a fight, especially against Braum, it's quite awkward, is you want to be aiming to channel your ultimate into the team as much as you can. So sort of like around here is where you want your ult to hit, as not only does it keep you safe, it also does a good amount of damage, and pretty much the best time to use it is at the start of a fight, unless you're going to chase someone down at the end of the fight, which doesn't really happen too often. So I'm going to play this fight sort of quite slowly at first, so just to explain what happens basically. So at the start I shoot my W out, I miss everybody, and then the engage sort of happens, and you notice my team here decides they want to all clump up into this one area against Braum, Orianna, Ryze. You know, that's not a smart idea to do. So you notice I'm at the back because I'm channeling my ult, doing as much damage as possible. Unfortunately a lot of it does get blocked here by the Braum shield. Vi comes in, and you notice this is where positioning is basically the difference between a really good AD and an average AD in my opinion, especially at this elo, where one positioning mistake is the difference between a game being won and a game being lost. So Vi here charges in, and obviously his target is either me or Kayle. Now he doesn't want to ult Kayle because she still has her ult, and he knows that. So his target has to be me. But if you look how far away I am from everybody else, if he ults me here, there's literally nothing he can do to put any damage out onto me, as there's nobody anywhere close to being in range to help him. And he doesn't have the damage to kill me, as he only has a Randuin's and a Brutalizer pretty much. So I'm at the back doing a lot of damage, you know, just staying safe, because that is honestly the key thing to realise when you're playing an AD. It doesn't matter if you're not really auto-attacking, as long as you're doing something and you're not dying, because it would have been extremely easy for me to die in this situation. So, continuing on here, my whole team gets caught in this horrible AoE, the Vi ult kind of gets knocked back, everybody gets Orianna ulted, and it's not looking great. So, we took Vi quite low from my ult and random damage. Braum here is trying to frontline for this team here, as that's kind of how you play the game. I come in, and now this is my opportunity to shoot. You see Lee Sin here just dash forward. When Lee Sin dashes forward here, that gives me sort of this protective line where I can be like, okay, I'm right at the back, I'm still hitting targets. That's the key thing to note. As long as I'm still doing damage, I don't really care what I'm hitting. That's something that I see at low elos a lot. Stop hitting tanks. Oh my god, AD, why hit tanks, etc. No, you really should be hitting tanks as much as you can, as long as you're staying safe. So I've got this nice sort of line here with the Kayle at the back, which is obviously what I said at the start. I want to be as close to the Kayle as possible, and that's what I'm doing. So So I do as much damage as possible to the Braum. We end up killing him. I think Singe Poison gets the kill, yeah. Lee Sin goes a bit deeper in here, and as soon as Kayle flashes in here, you notice that he does a lot of damage for one, because Kayle is absolutely insane as a champion. But two, I'm still pretty safe. I mean, the only thing that can really hit me is Ryze, but now that they've dashed in, the priority target for them is not me back here. They don't care about me back here, because I'm not the one in their face with a Randu, what is it called? Something Hurricane, Runan's Hurricane. I'm not the one in their face with a Hurricane doing insane damage while not having an ult up. That's the key thing to note here. When Kayle ult goes down, the target changes from me to, oh my god, look, it's a Kayle who's super fed and it's in our face. That has to be the key thing that you note. That as soon as their target changes, you need to come back in and make yourself a threat so that Kayle can still, even if Kayle dies here, I need to be alive and doing damage, and I need to be doing damage. It's really, really, really important that you realise the fact that you're not the priority target anymore. So as soon as I realise that, I dash in next to the Kayle here. Kayle gets an insane double kill, because that damage is just insane. And yeah, so I dash in, I help the Kayle. Kayle gets killed by just random damage, basically, Ryze and Caitlyn. And if I hadn't have dashed in here, I wouldn't be able to flash onto the Caitlyn, hit the W, get the double attack, and kill him. So my job in that fight was basically to stay alive until the priority target shifted onto the Kayle. As soon as it shifted onto the Kayle, I came in and I cleaned up pretty much what I could. We couldn't kill the Ryze here, but we ended up chasing him down, and we got an inhibitor tower for it, and an inhibitor. And we ended up sort of killing the Ryze in the base, but that's not really the point. So the key thing to learn from that fight, as I said before, is when the target priority shifts, you have to be in a position to use that target priority shift to your advantage. It would have been easy for me not to dash in there and just stay at the back, and the only thing that would really have achieved is it would have let Kayle and Ryze live, in which case we wouldn't be able to get a tower here. We would have just gone 3 for 3, which honestly is not a great trade in that scenario, and we just wouldn't have been at an advantage, and you always want to be an advantage in the game. So hopefully you learned something from this, and it was a quick sort of mock-up video, so obviously it wasn't perfect, but yeah, thanks for watching this video.